November 2024. The Carnival Horizon cruise ship docked in Miami. FBI agents boarded as passengers disembarked. A young woman was brought out on a stretcher, Anna Kepner, dead at 18 years old. The cause? Asphyxiation. The ruling? Homicide. The investigation focused on her stepbrother. But here's what the headlines didn't tell you. 3 weeks later, in a Florida courtroom, her brother took the stand. And what he testified to changes everything about this case. Because the tragedy on that cruise ship, according to the evidence presented in court, it may have been the final chapter of a story that began months earlier. A story of alleged violence, alleged control, and alleged warnings that no one acted on. This is the Anna Kepner case, and this is what they tried to hide. To understand what happened in that courtroom, we need to go back to November 2024. The Carnival Horizon was returning from the Caribbean. Hundreds of passengers, families on vacation. But when the ship reached Miami on a Saturday morning, the FBI was waiting. Anna Kepner had been found dead in her cabin. The medical examiner's ruling was unequivocal: homicide by asphyxiation. Anna had been traveling with her mother, Chantel Kepner, her stepfather, Christopher Kepner, and her stepbrother. According to federal investigators, the stepbrother was the last person seen with Anna. He became the primary focus of the FBI investigation. Now, it's critical to state, no charges have been filed in Anna's death. The investigation remains active. Under U.S. law, all individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. What we're examining today isn't speculation about what happened in that cabin. It's what happened in a courtroom 3 weeks later. Because while the FBI investigated Anna's death, another battle was unfolding. A custody battle between Anna's biological father, Thomas Hudson, and her mother, Chantel Kepner. And the testimony that emerged, it painted a picture of a family in crisis. A family where, according to witnesses under oath, violence wasn't new, where control and alienation were allegedly systematic, where warning signs, if the testimony is accurate, had been present for months. Before we examine what was said in that courtroom, if you're interested in cases where the full story takes time to emerge, where court documents reveal what headlines miss, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because here at Forbidden Visions, we follow the evidence, not the assumptions, the facts that surface in depositions, testimonies, and official records. Because sometimes the truth is buried in a court file. Here's what makes this case unusual. At the time of Anna's death, Thomas Hudson was already in court, fighting for custody of his other children, the 2 younger children who had been on that cruise ship with Anna. According to court filings, Thomas alleged that since January 2024, his relationship with his children had been systematically severed. He claimed that after Chantel began her relationship with Christopher Kepner, his access to the children began to disappear. Phone calls went unanswered. Scheduled visitations were denied. Text messages through the court-mandated parenting app ignored. Chantel's position, according to her attorney, was different. She claimed the children were in therapy, that they had expressed fear of their father, that she was following the guidance of mental health professionals, that Thomas had his own violations of the parenting agreement. 2 completely contradictory narratives, both parents claiming the other was lying, both claiming to be protecting the children. But in a hearing held just weeks after Anna's death, the oldest son, Andrew, took the stand, and his testimony was explosive. Andrew Hudson had just turned 18, which meant, under Florida law, he could testify in the custody proceedings. He could speak without restriction, and what he described was disturbing. According to Andrew's testimony under oath, on April 22, 2024, he was attending his high school in Hernando County, Florida. He testified that he was called to the front office during class. He went without his belongings, assuming it was routine. When he arrived, his mother was there, and so was Christopher Kepner. Now, what Andrew described next involves allegations of physical violence. If this content is difficult for you, you may want to skip ahead. According to his testimony, Andrew was told to get his things. He was being taken out of school. When he got to the vehicle, according to Andrew, his phone was taken, powered off. He testified that he asked where they were going. The answer? He was being moved to Brevard County, to a different school, permanently. Andrew testified that this contradicted everything he had been told. He stated under oath that he had made it clear he wanted to finish high school in Hernando County, where his friends were, where his father lived. He testified that he did not want to go. According to Andrew's sworn testimony, when he tried to exit the vehicle at a stop, he was physically restrained. He described Christopher Kepner allegedly placing an arm around his neck, pinning his head against the front seat. He testified that his mother climbed into the back seat, that she held him as well. Andrew stated under oath that he lost consciousness, not once, but potentially twice, during the drive. When asked directly by the attorney if he was trying to harm himself, Andrew's answer was clear: "No, sir." He testified that he was simply trying to escape what he described as being taken against his will. Now, let's be clear about what we're examining. This is testimony given under oath in a family court proceeding. Lying under oath is perjury, a criminal offense. Attorneys on both sides had the opportunity to cross-examine. The judge evaluated credibility in real time. What makes Andrew's testimony particularly significant isn't just what he described, it's what he could corroborate. According to court documents, photographic evidence was submitted. Pictures allegedly showing injuries consistent with restraint, marks on the neck area. Evidence, if authentic, that something physical occurred. Additionally, according to testimony, law enforcement was called to the scene. The Department of Children and Families investigated. Andrew, being 17 at the time, was allowed to make his own decision. According to testimony, he chose to return to his father's home, and he has remained there since April 2024. The question this raises isn't just about one incident, it's about pattern. If Andrew's testimony is accurate, if the photographic evidence supports his account, then what does that tell us about decision-making in this family? About supervision? About who was making choices regarding these children? Now we come to something deeply troubling in this case. According to Thomas Hudson's testimony, when Anna died on that cruise ship, he wasn't notified for 32 hours. Think about that timeline. Anna was found deceased. The FBI was called. The ship was held at port. Passengers were interviewed. And for 32 hours, Anna's biological father knew nothing. The question isn't whether this delay happened. Multiple sources confirm it. The question is, why? In his testimony, Thomas stated that he only learned about his daughter's death when he finally received a phone call more than a day later. No notification from authorities. No call from the cruise line. According to his testimony, the call came from Chantel, 32 hours after Anna had been found. Now, there could be logistical explanations. The FBI may have been securing the scene. Communication protocols during an active investigation are complex. Cruise ships operate under maritime law, which adds jurisdiction complications. But according to court testimony, Thomas had joint custody. He was listed as a parent in court documents. His contact information was readily available. So why the delay? Was it procedural? Or, as Thomas's attorney implied in court, was someone controlling the narrative? Controlling who knew what and when? The court has not ruled on this question, but it raises a disturbing possibility. If someone had 32 hours to frame the story, to establish their version of events, to speak to investigators first, what advantage would that provide? And more importantly, what might that suggest about credibility? 32 hours. Consider what that means in an investigation. How many statements were taken in that window? How much physical evidence could have been compromised? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this delay matters? Let's zoom out and look at the complete picture emerging from court testimony. According to Thomas Hudson's testimony and that of his eldest son, Andrew, prior to January 2024, there were no issues with the custody arrangement. The children spent regular time with their father. There were no therapy sessions, no complaints about fear or safety. Andrew testified explicitly when asked. He never witnessed his father being verbally or physically abusive to him, his siblings, or their mother. But according to court filings, everything changed in January 2024. That's when Chantel began her relationship with Christopher Kepner. Within months, according to Thomas's testimony, communication became restricted, visitation became sporadic, and then came the April 22nd incident. Now Chantel's attorney presented a different narrative. They argued that Thomas himself had withheld access, that after Andrew returned to live with Thomas, Andrew wasn't allowed to see his mother, that Thomas was guilty of the same alienation he accused Chantel of committing. And this is where family court cases become complex. Both sides often have legitimate grievances. Both parents may have made mistakes. The truth is rarely entirely one-sided. What makes this case unusual is the tragic outcome. Because regardless of who was right or wrong in the custody dispute, regardless of which parent made which mistakes, one fact is undeniable. Anna Kepner is dead, and according to federal investigators, her death is a homicide. Someone is responsible. The investigation is focused on the stepbrother who was traveling with the family whose internal dynamics, according to court testimony, involved alleged violence, alleged control, and alleged systematic dysfunction, which raises the most painful question of all. Were there warning signs? And if Andrew's testimony is accurate about what happened to him in April, should someone have seen this coming? Here's what we know from court testimony and public reports. Anna's ex-boyfriend reportedly raised concerns about the stepbrother's behavior. According to statements, he warned Chantel and Christopher about what he described as inappropriate conduct. The specifics of those concerns haven't been made public out of respect for the investigation, but the fact that warnings were allegedly given is significant. If those warnings were given, if they were specific, then the question becomes, why was Anna sharing a cabin with her stepbrother on that cruise? Now we have to be careful here. Family dynamics are complicated. Cruise ship cabin arrangements often involve logistical and financial considerations. Parents make decisions based on information available to them, and we cannot know what Chantel and Christopher knew or when they knew it. What we can say is this. According to court testimony, this family had experienced significant turmoil. According to testimony, there had been an incident serious enough to involve law enforcement and DCF. According to testimony, multiple children had expressed distress about family situations. And in that context, the decision to take a cruise, to place Anna in a shared cabin with her stepbrother, those decisions now carry enormous weight. Thomas Hudson's legal team has argued that the decisions made by Chantel and Christopher directly contributed to this tragedy. Not in a legal sense, no charges have been filed against the parents, but in a moral sense, in a question of judgment. If the testimony about family dysfunction is accurate, if the warnings about the stepbrother's behavior existed, then how did these children end up on that ship, in that configuration, with that outcome? Now, it's essential to acknowledge the other side. Chantel's legal team has argued forcefully that Thomas is not blameless, that his portrayal of himself as the concerned father kept from his children is incomplete, that he too has allegedly withheld access, that he too has allegedly used the children as pawns in this custody war. And they may be right. Family court is often a battlefield where both sides have committed violations, where both parents have made mistakes, where the truth is messy and painful for everyone involved. Additionally, we must remember, the stepbrother is a minor. Under U.S. law, he cannot be named publicly in most circumstances. He has not been charged with any crime. The investigation is ongoing, and even if charges are eventually filed, he is entitled to due process, to legal representation, to the presumption of innocence. The question isn't whether he's guilty. The question is what the adults in his life knew, and when they knew it, what decisions they made, what warnings they received, and whether those decisions placed Anna in danger. As of now, the FBI investigation into Anna's death continues. No arrests have been made, no charges have been filed. The medical examiner's ruling of homicide stands, but criminal proceedings have not begun. In family court, the custody battle continues as well. The hearing we've discussed was paused for cross-examination. It will resume at a later date. Judge Sandra Valentin ordered that the existing parenting plan must be followed in the interim. Thomas Hudson was granted his scheduled holiday visitation with his remaining children. For the families involved, the nightmare continues. Thomas has lost a daughter. Chantel has lost a daughter. The younger children have lost their sister, and they're caught in a legal and emotional battle that shows no signs of resolution. Anna's school, Temple Christian School in Titusville, confirmed she was a student there. Friends and classmates have mourned her loss. But beyond the sadness, there are questions. Questions about how this happened. Questions about whether it could have been prevented. Questions that may never be fully answered. The Anna Kepner case is a tragedy on multiple levels. A young woman is dead. A homicide investigation is focused on a minor who was supposed to be her family. And the testimony from family court has revealed alleged dysfunction that, if accurate, painted a family in crisis. We don't know yet what will happen with the criminal investigation. We don't know if charges will be filed or against whom. We don't know how the custody battle will ultimately be resolved. What we do know is what was said under oath, what was submitted as evidence, what patterns emerge when you look at the timeline. If Andrew's testimony is accurate, if the photographic evidence is authentic, if the warnings about behavior were given and ignored, then this case is about more than what happened in that cruise ship cabin. It's about a series of adult decisions. Decisions about custody, about supervision, about who should be where and when. Decisions that, according to one father's testimony, were catastrophically wrong. Anna Kepner was 18 years old. She attended Temple Christian School. She had friends, family, a future ahead of her. In November 2024, on the Carnival horizon, that future ended. The FBI investigation will determine criminal responsibility. The family court will determine custody. But the question that haunts this case, the question that testimony and evidence can't fully answer, is whether Anna's death was the final tragedy in a family that had been breaking apart for months, or whether it was something that no one could have predicted. The truth, as always, is somewhere in the testimony, in the evidence, in the decisions that were made, and the warnings that may have been ignored. And until the investigation concludes, that truth remains just out of reach. If this case raises questions you want answered, if you believe court testimony matters as much as headlines, subscribe to Forbidden Visions and turn on notifications. Because we follow cases through the evidence, through the testimony, through the documents that reveal what really happened. The Anna Kepner case is still unfolding, and we'll be here to examine every development. This case remains under active FBI investigation. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty. If you have information about this case, contact the FBI. Rest in peace, Anna Kepner. Claude é uma IA e pode cometer erros. Por favor, verifique as respostas.